The whole world was watching. A penalty in the very first week of the World Cup, with millions of people staring at the same replay and arriving at the same conclusion. That is offside. The attacker was clearly past the last defender. Everybody saw it. The fans in the stadium saw it. The fans at home saw it. The pundits in the studio saw it. And then VAR ruled it onside. The penalty stood, the goal went in, and the one piece of evidence that could have settled the entire argument, the calibrated offside line that FIFA shows in leagues all over the planet every single week, never came. That is FIFA's worst nightmare. Not a controversial call. Every tournament has those. The nightmare is a controversial call that nobody is allowed to check, broadcast live to the entire world, by an organization that has already spent 3 days torching every ounce of trust it had left. So let us go through exactly what happened, because this one is bad. It was Qatar against Switzerland at Levi's Stadium in the San Francisco Bay Area. Early in the match, Swiss striker Breel Embolo went down to the spot to take the first penalty of the entire World Cup. The penalty came after Remo Freuler was brought down by Qatar's goalkeeper, Mahmoud Abunada. On the contact alone, fair enough, the keeper clattered him. But here was the problem. The replays seemed to show that Freuler was clearly offside before that collision ever happened. VAR took a look. Monitors around the stadium showed the check was happening. After a long delay, the decision came back onside. Penalty confirmed. Embolo scored. And then everyone waited for the line. The graphic. The calibrated freeze frame that drops 2 colored lines on the pitch and ends every offside debate in 2 seconds. The thing you see in the Premier League every week. It did not appear on Fox in the United States. It did not appear on the British broadcast. It did not appear in Spain. Nowhere on earth did the viewing public get to see the evidence that supposedly proved this was the right call. The line never came, so the fans did what fans do. They erupted. On X, the verdict was nearly unanimous. German-speaking supporters were calling it the biggest wrong call of the tournament so far, flatly declaring it was offside. Others called it the first refereeing scandal of the World Cup. One simply asked how on earth that was not offside. Thousands of people, looking at the same frames, certain of what they were seeing, and FIFA, sitting on the one tool that could prove them wrong, showed them nothing. And then the pundits went off. Gary Neville, live at halftime, did not hold back. He pointed out that FIFA is the host broadcaster, that they have the semi-automatic decision in their hands, that they could show it instantly, and they were not. He said fans already distrust FIFA and the technology, and that until they prove otherwise, it is offside in his eyes. And then he reached for the word that became the headline. He called it like a dictatorship, an organization that holds the evidence internally and refuses to show it to the fans of the countries actually playing. Ian Wright was just as blunt, asking why we had not seen the semi-automatic line, saying the player looks offside, and landing on a single word, scandal. They do what they want, he said, sitting in their office. Now here's where FIFA made it worse by trying to make it better. About 3 hours after the match, FIFA released a statement, and the explanation was, of all things, a technical glitch. They said a brief technical outage had prevented the onside animation graphic from being generated, that the issue was quickly resolved, that the VAR's actual workflow was never affected, that the review followed normal procedure, and that the lines the officials used showed no offside. They even posted 2 images to back it up. Read that carefully because it's extraordinary. FIFA's official position is, the camera that shows you the proof broke, but trust us, the proof exists. And it says we were right. The evidence that could have killed this controversy in the moment it mattered, live on the broadcast while the world was watching, was unavailable precisely when the world needed it, and only surfaced hours later, after the goal was scored, after the result was shaped, after the damage was done. Saying we had the line, it just did not show. And also it agreed with us, is not transparency. It's a note from FIFA excusing FIFA. And after the week these people have had, nobody is in the mood to take their word for anything. Because that's the real story here. This isn't one bad night in isolation. This is day 3 days. And look at the pile this VAR mess just landed on top of. The ticket prices that priced out ordinary fans before a ball was kicked. The empty seats, including this very match, where FIFA announced a crowd of 67,966, just shy of capacity, in a stadium that looked about 3/4 full, with gaps dotted through all 4 tiers, explained away with the same line about fans standing in the concourses. The travel ban shutting out supporters from around 40 countries. The players and team staff pulled aside, searched, and held at the border. A World Cup referee, FIFA's own selected official, denied entry and sent home before he could officiate a single match. Brick after brick after brick, all in 72 hours, all building the same wall. An organization that asks for your trust while doing everything in its power to lose it. So when the offside line did not appear on Saturday, here is what did not happen. Nobody at home thought it was a harmless technical outage, that these things occur. After 3 days of this, the instinct was the opposite. People did not see a glitch, they saw a cover-up. And whether or not that is fair to FIFA in this specific instance is almost beside the point, because FIFA is the one who spent the entire week teaching the audience to assume the worst. Let me be fair for a second, because this channel does not deal in fantasy. It is entirely possible the call was correct. It is possible the tech genuinely failed, that the lines really did show Freuler onside, that this was nothing more than rotten timing on a bad day for the graphics team. That can all be true. But that is exactly what makes it a nightmare instead of a footnote. FIFA had one job in that moment: show the line, end the argument, move on. They could not, and they had already burned every bit of credibility that would have let people give them the benefit of the doubt. When you have spent 3 days as the villain, you do not get to suddenly play the trustworthy narrator. Qatar, for what it's worth, struck late to grab the first point in their World Cup history, a genuinely great story buried under the noise. And that's the saddest part. The football is delivering. The drama, the upsets, the debuts, it's all there. But FIFA keeps stepping on its own tournament, and on Saturday, it did it live, in front of everyone, with the one piece of evidence that could have saved it sitting in an office, out of sight. The line never came, and by now, nobody's surprised. So what do you think? Honest technical failure, or exactly the kind of trust us FIFA hasn't earned? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. A-like genuinely helps more than you'd think. Subscribe if you want World Cup coverage that keeps count of everything going wrong. Football at this scale is never just a tournament. It's a moment in time. 3 days in, FIFA's moment is starting to look like a slow-motion collapse.